welcome everybody. It's nice to see you again. We are here in May 2023 now. And if you are not sure how long we've been doing these sessions, we've been doing them since August 2020. So we're coming up on our 3rd-year anniversary, which is bananas for me to think that that is actually a thing. And my name is Sharon Chaden Glass. I'm an instructional designer for Sinclair Community College, and I support the science, mathematics, and engineering division in all of their courses for blended online learning, particularly. And I'm learning a lot about our learning management system. So those are the areas that I'm involved in. We have 2 new guest speakers today. I'm happy to bring to you. We have Jennifer Berman and we have Jacob Broadhead. And they will be sharing their experiences moving from teaching into instructional design at here our idea networking session for instructional designers and educators. And while they are speaking, please write down your questions because you'll have an opportunity to speak with one of those speakers, or you can speak with me out here in the main room when we go to breakout rooms. And I am going to go ahead and hand it over to Jennifer, and she's going to share her story. So let me get her spotlighted, and you're free to go, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharon. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Well, first of all, Sharon, thank you for having me here and giving me this opportunity to talk. I feel like since I transitioned out of teaching, I want to help as many people as possible, just to kind of, let everyone know that it's doable, it's possible, and if you want it, you can make it happen. So, I'm just really excited to be here and talk to y'all about that. So let me just kind of start with like a little background about me and kind of where I came from. So I was an elementary teacher for 17 years. I taught everything from kindergarten to 4th grade. I taught in California, Florida, and Texas. When I first started teaching, I thought this is like my forever career. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my career. And as the years went by, I quickly realized that it was not something I wanted to keep doing forever. I ended up getting my master's degree about my 10th year of teaching, kind of with the thought that I'll go into school administration. And then I started kind of seeing what that entailed and what school administrators had to deal with. And I thought that's really not something I'm interested in. And so COVID happened. And just like a lot of you guys, I'm sure, we all were kind of thrown into that, just being more tech savvy than we ever had been. I started realizing that was something that I had as a strength. I didn't really know that I did. And, I also started really going within myself and thinking, is this something I want to keep doing? Do I want to continue teaching? No. After that, I came back and continued to be like the virtual teacher for my grade level. So there was 2 whole years of me just really learning a lot of technology that I wasn't familiar with previous to that. And so that kind of led me down the path of researching, like, what else could I do? I think like teachers, we, just kind of think teaching, that's all there is. There's really nothing else we can do. And I believed that. And so I started researching and I came across instructional design, and I started kind of learning on my own and teaching myself, YouTubing, all that good stuff, learning what do I need to know? And there was a lot. It was a little overwhelming in the beginning. I ended up enrolling in an instructional design academy and started learning there as well. Did a lot of networking, just really spent most of my free time, figuring out what it was I needed to do and upskilling myself. I felt like I wasn't going to get a job for a while. I thought it was going to be, a year or 2 years of doing that before I got something, because I believed that, I'm a teacher. Like, who's going to hire me? Like, I don't know any of this. I'm not an instructional designer. But I, just kind of told myself every day, like, you can do this, you've got this. I put in the time, I put in the hard work. I created my little vision board and set a date of when I was going to achieve my goal. And I stayed positive and just kept working toward it. And in August of last year, I got a job offer. So I wasn't applying for very long. I would say 3 or 4 months. I was applying, putting lots of applications out there. I really started focusing more on the in-person positions because I know there's a lot of remote positions out there. Everybody wants them. And so my thought was, I live in a big city. I'm in Houston. So there's a lot of in-person jobs that I'm willing to commute to. So I really focused my energy on applying to those jobs. And those were the ones I ended up getting my interviews with. And ultimately, one of those companies was the one that hired me. But I really did, I just focused on like, what do I need to know, and practicing a lot of those interviewing skills, making sure that I was explaining myself clearly, that I was able to be honest about what I didn't know, but also focusing on what I did know and what I could do. And the fact that, I work really hard. I know that, I'm a fast learner. So if there's something I don't know, I'm going to figure it out. And so I did get hired with this company. It actually was an in-person company for the first, I'm sorry, an in-person position for the first 3 months. And then after that, they said, you're free to work remotely. So I now work from home. I go into the office once every month or so. But it's going great. I'm an instructional designer. I do mostly e-learning development, and I do a lot of work in the LMS as well, a lot of management in that. And, sometimes I design flyers or I design programs for different events that our company is having, just kind of wherever they need me. Um, so that's where I'm at now, and I absolutely love it. I could not be happier in my career. The salary's great, the support and the respect that I get now, it is like on a level that I never knew existed. I really did not ever have that as a teacher. And I hate to say that, but it's just the truth. I see the support and respect I have now with my coworkers and my department and the organization as a whole. It's just amazing. So I'm just, I just want my one piece of advice like to everybody is just stay positive, stay true to what you want and work for it, and you will get it. Because it's definitely worth it.
I completely agree with you on the when you were saying the very last thing you said about the support.
Mhm.
I have noticed even I can't really put my finger on how to explain the culture surrounding um performance specifically for teachers, but in all my years of teaching, whenever I had performance reviews, oh, the anxiety right before. And I didn't have that like I had it the very first performance review I had just because I didn't know what to expect. And then after I had one, I was like, damn, am I any good at this? I didn't understand that performance reviews, and I gotta say, I'm an excellent employee. I was an excellent teacher, but I don't know if I don't understand it. There really is a culture of let's find the things that are wrong with you.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
focus on, and is that a reflection of our educational system? I don't know, but I always walked away from those performance reviews being like, even here.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Absolutely.
and I just walked out of a performance review, not just in the last couple weeks, and it was completely different. It was completely different. It was just, man, awesome. You're doing really good work. And
Mhm.
what do you think you should do for, the next year? What goals do you have? Before I had to ask my supervisor, I'm sorry, I had to make goals, but my supervisor had to write off on them and agree with them, and then agree on the materials that I was going to purchase for,
Mhm.
I was like, am I eight? Like,
Yes,
you know what I
yes,
mean, Jennifer?
yeah. I absolutely do. I used to walk away from those, evaluations and those, anytime somebody came in to observe or anytime there was some kind of somebody looking at what I was doing, and that I knew what I was doing, and I knew that I was doing the best I could. And I had, proof year after year that my kids were performing great. I mean, I knew in my heart that I was really doing a great job, but you look at your evaluation and you're like, really? Like this is this what it boils down to? These like three check marks or whatever. It was, yeah, it really kind of puts you down in a place where, you don't deserve to be. You just don't.
Yeah, unfortunate, but I think you've probably reached the same point I did where I just decided, like, I can't change a system by myself. And
Mhm.
at some point, for your own health, you have to just leave the system and find somewhere that's better for you. And I think that's where a lot of people decide that they have to get out of education, which, again, yes, I agree, is super sad. But, the system has to be sustainable, a
Yes.
place that people want to be.
Yep.
Jacob, are you ready?
All right. Hi, my name is Jacob Broadhead, and I am a senior training specialist at a biotech company here in Seattle. Before my current position, I was also working in biotech, but I was only there about a year and a half. Prior to that, I taught as well. Like many of you, I was in K-12 for 6 years. I did 4 years of elementary, 1 year of high school, and 1 year of middle school across districts in Utah, Colorado, and then my latest was a year during the pandemic. So from 2020 to 2021, I taught as my last year. I was seventh grade. I also taught 2 years in Korea. I taught English to adults there for Samsung. And during that time, I worked actually quite a bit with the lady that we could probably call instructional designer now. She had a different title, but that was a little bit of an introduction to some of the work that in corporate fields instructional designers might do. I was an instructional designer. I did a project in my graduate school, so I kind of had an idea and a flavor of what that work might be like well before I even started teaching in K-12. Wanted to pursue my passion, so I'm kind of going back and forth here, but I want to pursue more passion in teaching and particularly in learning languages. That's why I stuck with the K-12 route. But leading up into the pandemic, well, even back in 2016, actually, before I moved to Utah, I was really interested in getting into instructional design at that point. And a portfolio is what really kept me away from it because I felt like I had to have one. I don't know if it was quite as necessary then, but I felt like I couldn't quite make the jump or had enough skills. And so I went and did 4 years of elementary. And then last year, when I was seventh grade, it was mostly online until we went back for like the last 2 months or so. Is like 2 days a week. And I got really used to working from home and some of the sweet benefits that come with that, as well as I was able to use what I felt like was a lot of extra time. Behavior wasn't an issue, things like that. And so I just consumed as many videos, YouTube, followed, some of the same luminaries that you're probably doing right now, like Karen North and Tim Slade and Devlin Peck, just consumed all that. And then I was like, I'm going to make a jump. And so I started applying actually, my first application was in January of 2021. It's like, I'm just going to see what happens. And I almost got a job as a product trainer, actually. And then it didn't work out, which I'm glad it didn't. The pay was actually pretty low in comparison anyway. And then I kept upskilling and built a portfolio, which I don't think I actually ended up needing for the job that I got. And I got into a manufacturing training position at a biotech company and at a training position opening. And so I applied, and they didn't have anybody else that came from education in the whole company, really. And so I was kind of unique in that way, had a good, I think my manager at that point was like, you have a good attitude, you have good aptitude for learning, and I think you'll be able to pick up the basics of biotech pretty quick, which I did. It was difficult at the beginning, but I picked it up well enough, started figuring it out, and then it was applying instructional design principles, which uh, depending on the maturity of learning teams that you might join or be interested in, you may be, well, I believe that you have a lot of tools in your tool belt, a lot of assets as far as just how people learn. Because what most people end up doing that are in instructional design or training or in some sort of learning position at least in a corporate position, most of them were subject matter experts. They got really good at whatever task they know how to do. And then they either got fed up with the lack of training, or they were somewhat interested. And so they got promoted or moved into that. And they realized that that was a pretty nice job compared to whatever they're doing before. And so they don't have hardly any experience or background in learning, but they do in that particular process. So I feel like they can teach people. When the reality is not necessarily that because you know a task, you know how to teach people how to do that task. And so that's definitely where I provided a lot of value for the team and was able to fit in a lot of cases turn around the team that I was on in my last position. And then networking, I found I was looking for another spot, a little bit higher pay, a little more benefits, and then a little bit closer to home and some work from home opportunities at that point. Because oddly enough, I picked a job that was like fully in person. We were supporting manufacturing, and so they want us to be there. Some work from home situations, but most of the time we had to be there. And so the job that I got now is actually so I'm currently in the office right now, but 2 days a week we come in, 3 days we work from home. And I got it because I networked with another former teacher who had recently joined this team. And so on my team right now, there's three of us that are former teachers. One, she worked in somewhat education, I think theater education, so not quite K-12. And so there's a lot of us former teachers. We're actually the majority at this point, three of us, six. And it's amazing to work with them, but also get some other perspectives. And I think that we all do amazing work, particularly because of some of the experiences that we had as teachers. And so it's a nice blend to have those that were experts in something else, but also learning experts or people that are just willing to learn. Another thing that's kind of interesting is my last job before I moved here. One of the ladies that I worked with on my team, she was a subject matter expert that turned into, she had a lot of interest in training. And then I just started introducing her to the same kind of things that I upskilled with, like Map It by Kathy Moore, one of my favorite books, good foundational resource for designing training, and then just a bunch of instructional design theories. And she latched onto it quickly and just barely got promoted into a training manager position at another company by the time that I left for this company. And so all my years of experience teaching, lesson planning, curriculum design, all of that has really paid off in my current position. And really every corporation I can think of needs people like us that have had those experiences. It's just being able to translate your skills as well as learn a few new things in order to fit in and be able to jump into the different needs that corporations have.
I mean, you're absolutely right about this job. Everyone seems like everyone has a position like this. It's called different things depending on what the corporation is looking for and how large the team is. You could be the one person at a very small company that's doing end-to-end creation and to production, or you could be on it something more like what I'm doing, where I'm working with a team of people, and I just am one part of a multiplayer team where everyone kind of specializes in different fields. I've spoken about this before in previous sessions, but teachers are kind of used to being like that one man or one woman band, doing everything, making your own copies, writing your own tests, grading everything. But that was a real challenge for me in learning how to work on a team where if I did try to do everything, I'm stepping on people's toes. And someone's like, well, that was my thing. And why is she doing my thing? Because people all expect me to be doing that. And for example, this didn't happen, but it's an example of what I mean. Like if I made a graphic that was going out in the name of of our e-learning division, that's not my role. And if I do that, the person who does make graphics that go out on behalf of us is like, I didn't make that. I didn't sign off on that. You know, this didn't happen, but it's an example of what I'm saying. Have you noticed that, Jacob, where you're at? Are you working with a team?
Yeah, I'd say it gets even more complex in that you will have someone in the exact same role as you. They can contribute in the way that they were asked to, and we have different strengths, and so you have to negotiate those things and not take too much, which we're common to, and we're proactive. It's usually typical skills that a teacher has, and so it's interesting to be on a team with former teachers that feel that way. Another aspect that's interesting that I think feeds into this is like a strive for perfection. I actually think academia is worse than K-12. I think they really have standards that are completely unsustainable, and it's not quite realistic. Whereas in K-12, it's similar, but some of the time there's a little bit more realistic attitude because of the challenges of running a classroom and being supervising kids, whereas in adults you don't have to supervise as much. But similar ideas, and so I have a teammate that I feel like is trying to strive for perfection a lot of times, and so trying to figure out what your boundaries are in your role can be hard for her, and then it can be hard for like myself to determine if I am doing too much and maybe she should be working on that. And so roles and responsibilities, there's something called a RACI chart that sometimes you'll use to figure out who's supposed to do what on a particular project, and then just stay in your lane is really important in order to be successful.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had good breakout room discussions. Before we get into our whole group Q&A, I want to mention that the next time that we are going to meet is Tuesday, June 6th from 7 to 8 p.m. And looking at my summer schedule, I am not going to have a session during the month of July because the first Tuesday is the 4th of July, US holiday. And then I have travel plans the week after that. And I was like, you know what, let's just take July off and meet back up in August. So the session after June will be August 1st, if you want to plan that far ahead. August 1st, 7 p.m., 7 to 8 p.m. Yes. Does anyone have any exciting news to share?
I'll share, I guess.
Sure.
Let me turn on my video. There
No.
you go. Yes. Yeah. I shared this in the breakout room, but I have an interview next week. It's my second interview for Anthem Health Insurance. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I really feel in my gut that I'm going to get an offer. So fingers crossed that that's actually going to happen. And just working on a work sample that they've requested that showcases my best talents. So working on that with Rise and Storyline right now. So
that's so awesome. We are definitely wishing you all the best in getting that.
Thank you.
Totally can happen. Anyone else want to share anything? And if not, we are ready for questions. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, Amy.
Thanks everyone. So I'm trying to understand a little bit more about this, like really how much a portfolio is necessary and trying to like get the motivation to like do this portfolio, and where do I even start, and should I learn Storyline, should I learn something else, and how to learn it, and I don't know if anyone has any comments about that. I've taught for a while in elementary, and then January 2020 was doing like ed tech curriculum design. So I have a few years of just kind of designing general K-6 content, but trying to figure out how to kind of leverage that.
Okay. Jacob, did you do a portfolio that you shared?
Yeah, I did. Yep. I spent quite a bit of time trying to put together some pieces. I thought I did decent amount. My current manager said that was quite an influential piece to get the job that I have now. However, depending on the role that you're looking for, it's not required, but it can help. And so it's just another way to distinguish yourself and give showcase what you can do without having to write it out. And so it's not required even now. But if you are cold applying and you don't have like an in some way, like you're not networking or you're not getting a lot of referrals to jobs, then a portfolio is like a must. And so it's just very difficult without any sort of connections to get someone to look at your resume unless you can showcase skills.
What about you, Jennifer? Did you have one?
I did, yeah. I had created a quick little portfolio and got my website up and going in the first few weeks of being in idle courses. And then as I started just kind of like creating things on my own and just kind of learning things, I would just put stuff in there. Nice. And I mean, looking back, I think like it wasn't anything great, but I had it and I thought at least it's something, so. I mean, I agree with Jacob, though. I mean, I don't think it's always necessary, but it definitely can show off what you can do. It will maybe give you an advantage. I would say, yeah, you probably should have one, but I don't think it's like required.
Yeah.
And then how else, like for...
Oh, sorry, Amy. Sorry, how did I do that? I muted you. I didn't mean to. I was trying.
No offense taken, promise.
Go ahead.
So like which tools did you use to do that? Did you just kind of like I kind of like don't know where to begin if I were to create a portfolio. Like I'm doing now the EduFlow course and they're kind of taking us through that part and thinking about topics, but like A, what tools to use, and B, how do you then really market yourself when if you don't have a portfolio kind of thing? Because it's like all these things you read on the job descriptions, like, yeah, I could totally do that. I could totally learn all of that. But it's like, how do you really, aside from the portfolio, how do you really market yourself? And
Jennifer, go ahead.
No, sure. I was just waiting. I didn't know who was going to speak. Well, Amy, I think, so I think I know Storyline was like learning Storyline was something that I absolutely needed because everyone I was talking to, everywhere I went, that was what you needed to have. So I learned Storyline on my own, mostly Devlin Peck. I mean, that's really where I learned most of it. I know there's a lot of really good videos on YouTube about creating your portfolio. I think Devlin also has one on portfolios, and there was quite a bit that I watched of his about portfolios, or maybe I read something, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it came from Devlin. And I think yes, and Natalie's saying an entire instructional design playlist. Yeah. I would just, kind of just start watching a little bit of those at a time and just, start absorbing it and kind of letting it, and like just take it one step at a time, because it does seem overwhelming and it does seem like there's so much you have to know and so much you'll have to be able to do. But I would just take it, one little step at a time and don't overwhelm yourself,
I will say from my experience, I did not really have a traditional portfolio in the way that people think of it. What I did was I had a section on my resume that I called video portfolio, because that's what I was creating when I first started applying for jobs. I was showcasing my ability to edit videos, and that was the job that I ended up getting. I worked in media production, and they saw they went to those videos and they're like, oh, well, she can make videos. That's what we need her for. But I wasn't applying to be an e-learning developer and use Storyline or Captivate or anything like that. So I think it depends on the jobs you're applying for. I was willing to just get out there and say, this is what I can do right now, and I'm willing to learn. We have about 5 minutes left. Does anyone else have any questions they want to put out there?
This is maybe kind of a follow-up to Amy's, because I feel like maybe I'm just kind of guessing that we might be in the same position or path right now. But I'm also feeling like that. I'm just like jumping back and exploring a transition and wondering if anybody has opinions about like whether, like how necessary is it to take like a structured course, or just to like go little by little, as you suggested, Jennifer, just kind of like plugging away at videos and things like that.
I think it really depends on how you learn. For me, I'm a tinkerer. I want to learn something by actually doing it. But it can be helpful if you're the kind of person that really needs like deadlines, and, you know, I need to have an assignment and I want, you know, somebody to give me a project so I can learn this thing. If that's going to be what helps you move forward, I would do that. Jacob or Jennifer, I know Jennifer did iDoll. Jacob, did you do any programs like that?
Yeah, I did Tim Slade's e-learning designs academy, which is really helpful. I don't think you need to do that at all. And I would suggest you don't unless you feel like that's the last push you need, or you feel like, I mean, I had a great experience. In fact, I still check in quite a bit with Tim and other students there, but I would suggest just not unless you have a really good reason you need to, because any course you take, even if it's through like a university, is still going to be self-paced. So you still have to be motivated yourself to actually go and get the material. The way that it's presented and how it's presented obviously can make a difference. And so there's some varying amounts of quality between each one of those different, you know, either a degree or whatnot. But the real value comes in just feedback that you're going to get from other people like you, or from, say, you take academy, like who are the people that are going to give you feedback. And what I like to say is the quality often of anything, like any learning experience you have, is almost in direct proportion of the quality of the feedback that you get. Because there's a lot of things that you just don't know unless someone points them out to you. And so the more and more you revise something, the more likely it'll be a better and better fit for purpose and a better quality product. And that takes a lot of time. And so you got to be with people that are going to give you quality feedback. So the type of feedback that you get, which you get from lots of people, you don't have to go anywhere other than, like, I could even give you feedback. I've done that before. People will say, you know, look at my portfolio piece, happy to do that. But most of the content, most of what you have to learn is all self-paced, no matter what you do.
Yeah, true. So in short, I think it just depends on how you learn. And if you're in this field, education, learning design, instructional design, you're probably in it because you love learning. And you are your own best expert about how you learn best. So you probably know. Probably. We have just a couple minutes left. Any last questions? Nothing too hard, something easy. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much, Jennifer and Jacob. I almost forgot your name. Almost, but not quite. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you all back here in June. Have a great night.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.